This cute little table came from the neighbors across the street. They had started it as a project. They already sanded the majority of the table, so a lot of my heavy work was already done for this project. I really love the legs on it. Really love it. It has leaves that come up on either side, measuring probably it's about 27 by 30 inches and wide whenever it's folded out. And I have big plans for this little table. I have had this stencil for about a year. I had watched a video. I don't know how you say it, but I guess I would just say FAFF Designs on YouTube. I absolutely love her. And she used this same lattice on a little table. It was like a half moon. And I just fell in love with it. And I finally found something that I think would absolutely fit it. So that's the stencil I'm going to be using. Again, it's called Retro Lattice, and it's by Bells and Whistles brand. And I found mine on Etsy. As you can see, the price was $24.95 plus shipping. This is the hardware that was originally on it. It's fine, but I wanted something just a little more, I don't know, modern to match kind of the stencil that's also on the top. So I went with this antique brass cabinet knob. It's 1.5 inches in diameter. It's got like a round flower design on it. And the top, I'm going to be staining it, but it's just a little bit too red for my personal taste. I like a little bit more warm and muted, more grayish brown. So I did a green wash all over the entire top. And this is what it looks like after it dried, before I did anything else. This is Varathane's Total Control Gel Stain, and I use this a lot, especially in dark walnut. It's one of my favorites. It's very forgiving, but I also like the tone and the color of it. So I'm going to start here on this one side of the leaf and just lather it on and wipe away quickly, and then the top, and then onto the other side, and then it's got to dry for 24 hours before I can put the stencil on. So while that is drying, I had to clean these little caps that go on the feet. I cleaned them up with Barkeeper's Friend really good, and steel wool. And after they've dried, now I'm just putting antique gold rub and buff on, and then they'll dry, and then I'll buff them out tomorrow before I put the stencil on top of the table. And here's what they look like all finished. Now I've got the table flipped upside down and taped, and I'm going to be painting the base of it. It's called Warm Embers by Heirloom paint. So the first thing you do is you don't have to scuff or anything, but you do have to make sure it's super clean with the degreaser, which this was already done, so that part was already finished. So what I do is I put it on with a brush, and then I go over it with a roller, and all of the brush and the roller is from Heirloom that I'm using, and I'll be doing 2 coats all together, and just a little few touch-ups here and there afterwards, but it covered really nice. And after finishing drying and everything, I pulled the tape off, and this was the following day where the caps for the feet were also ready. So I got those all laid out, and I say on my little piece of paper, it has like back right, left right. So that way I know which ones go where, and they get tacked on with these little bitty ocean pins, and that keeps them in place. And then at the very end, I put a furniture slider tacked into the bottom of the leg. That way it can slide easily and not scratch any floors. And then I got the drawer painted as well. And then all I had to do was put that cute one little knob on there. Now I had knobs that I'd purchased for another project, but these I had 2 left over, so I used one of the knobs for this. So it's good that whenever you can use things for multiple projects like that. Now, this is where we're at with the project, kind of just taking a pause. So the base is painted, the top is stained, and the next step is stencil. So to start the stencil out, I had the table with the leaves out, and I measured and put the stencil in the very, very middle. And then I taped that down just with like painter's tape, just to keep it from moving around on me. And then I put warm embers, the Heirloom warm embers, and I started to do with the paint on a glass plate, and then I had a paper towel that I was dabbing off onto the stencil, but you'll see towards the end, I felt like the glass, I wasn't wasting as much paint, and I was able to still get enough off of the brush, just dabbing it around the glass plate. There wasn't much on it in a lot of spaces, so it really helped. So after I finished the middle, I just literally worked my way front back on the table, which weirdly worked out perfectly with the stencil, almost like it was made for it. And then I worked each side of the leaf outward, and I let that fall off the table because the stencil didn't end right at the line, which I was okay with because I feel like, I don't know, as a creative, sometimes you want stuff to kind of fall off so it doesn't look like it's just like a placemat on top or something. About halfway through, I did have to clean the stencil, and just a helpful tip, because I did try to use just a baby wipe because it was starting to like build up on the stencil a little bit. But after I finished completely, I took it in there to my shop sink and put warm Lattice water in it, and I used it's like a scour pad. It's like the one with the smiley face, the whatever one it's called, the daddy one, and I just really gently scrubbed the stencil with Dawn, the hot water, and that scrubby, and it came off within like just a few minutes. So it was the easiest way to clean it. Wish I had done that whenever I was halfway through trying to wipe it clean with a baby wipe, because that was kind of a disaster. This is what it looks like with the stencil completely done across the entire table. Now it has to dry for 24 hours before I put the top coat on, but I'm super, super happy with how it's turned out. And last but not least, we've got to get the top coat. I'm using General Finishes High Performance Gloss in 2 coats, and then the last coat I will finish with flat. But between the 2 gloss coats and the gloss and the flat, I'll be using a 320 grit sandpaper just to give it a smooth finish, just light, nothing crazy. And then after I do the flat, it's do not touch. And I do like to use it's a velour roller for the final. So I know there's nothing on it, and the finish is super smooth. I love General Finishes. It's very forgiving. It levels out very nicely, and it just looks muddy whenever it's complete, and I couldn't be happy with it. I love Heirloom paint, but I'm actually thinking about seeing how General Finishes paint works as well. So we'll be doing that maybe future videos. So make sure that the coats dry at least 2 to 3 hours between as well. And then the last coat, the flat coat, it takes like 7 to 10 days for it to fully harden. Not fully harden, but light touch harden. And then it takes, I think, 21 days, so 3 weeks for it to completely harden before you can put anything on it. But after that, you're good to go. And here it is, all dry. I've got it at my studio entry because I'm getting ready to stage it. And you'll see here how I don't have a ton of space. I'm working on a bigger space for staging, but this is what I have that I'm working with. It's basically near the studio entry front door. That rug is 5 foot by 7 foot. So you can see it's not a very big space. But what I like to do, especially with small tables like this, I like to use a mirror just to kind of help, I don't know, reflect and give it a little more design element. And you'll see as I zoom in what I'm talking about. I'll also only use that window light that's coming through the side light by the front door. I don't use any other artificial light. I have been a photographer actually for over 20 years, but I do have studio lighting. I have a lot of studio lighting, but I actually prefer this, just this one window light. And actually, I don't even use my pro camera. I use my Samsung Galaxy S25, and I put it in portrait video, portrait photo, and shoot away, and I absolutely love it. And I absolutely love this little table. Thanks for watching.